The first American Revolution took place in present-day New Mexico. In 1595, Conquistador Juan de Oñate expanded Spanish territorial claims north from New Spain, seeking both silver and the subjugation of the 100 pueblos of the Pueblo people. After 4 Spanish expeditions along the Rio Grande since Francisco Vázquez de Coronados in 1540 brought discord and violence, many Pueblo leaders accepted the reach of Spanish authority to their lands. As Ned Blackhawk explains, pre-colonial Pueblo society maintained subsistence economies that followed the seasons. These cycles, developed over generations, consisted of retreats, prayer sessions, dances, among other cultural events that were contingent on the harvest. The most densely populated area north of Mexico bustled with trade, as multiple languages and dialects resounded in their streets. The arrival of the Spanish decimated this equilibrium, banning their religious practices. In December 1598, the Spanish followed Pueblo roads to Pueblo Acoma and demanded tribute via water, flour, and food. Acoma citizens said no, and after the Spanish attempted to violently seize supplies, the Pueblo responded with a barrage of arrows and stones, killing most of the Spanish, including the leader of their expedition, Juan de Saldivar. A few weeks later, his brother, Vicente, launched a massacre against Acoma. The Spanish murdered hundreds and kidnapped 80 men and 500 women and children. On February 12, 1599, after putting the captured citizens of Pueblo Acoma on trial, Juan de Oñate sentenced men above the age of 25 to have 1 foot cut off and 20 years of servitude, males between 12 and 25, 20 years of servitude, and women over 12, 20 years of servitude. As the Spanish did not find mineral wealth, they once again turned to the value-making practice of labor exploitation. This political strategy reflected Oñate's employment of violence to parlay the strength of Spanish governance. The Acoma massacre consolidated the shared identity and motivations of the settlers, as Juan Blasquez de Cabanillas of Castile stated, that Acoma must never be inhabited again. Pueblo communities fled as the Spanish seized more women, siphoned the Pueblo's agricultural bandwidth to feed their livestock, and as smallpox arrived from New Spain in the south. By 1640, 10% of the population died from this illness. The shifting demographics of the region also inspired other Indian nations, like the Apache, Diné, and Ute, to move into the area and engage in both trading and raiding against the Pueblo. In August 1680, a handful of generations following the Spanish Entrada, revolution erupted. At the behest of their religious leader Pope, the Pueblos formed a unified front against their American and European adversaries. Burning the churches the Spanish forced their forebears to construct, killing their priests, and driving the Spanish into the New Mexican capital of Santa Fe. The Pueblo laid siege for a week, and the Spanish fled. Despite decades of torture, enslavement, and murder, Pueblo culture did not break and found new resilience through rebellion. However, many Pueblos did not wish to submit to centralized authority, and the wartime alliance fell apart. The next year, Spanish conquistador Antonio de Otermin led an attempted reconquest and was shocked at what he encountered: ruins of churches used as stables, and the incorporation of horses and cattle into indigenous societies. In 1692, Pueblo villagers accepted the bloodless Reconquista of New Mexico by Diego de Vargas as they desired protection from enemy Indian raids, but demanded greater cultural autonomy and religious freedom. Spanish settlements now coexisted in a pluralistic world with the Pueblos and other indigenous nations of New Mexico. Not only did this hybrid society practice both Catholic and Indian religious traditions, but Pueblo and Spanish soldiers now fought in battle together. Following the Pueblo Revolt, no regional group proved totally dominant for 100 years. The development of colonialism in New Mexico emerged from a violent dialogue. Another indigenous force with potent influence on the growth of colonial America is the Haudenosaunee, or the Iroquois.